Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my very first Craftversations of 2017. Yeah!
I hadn't thought of that. That makes me feel a little bit more special.
You are extremely special.
I'll try to start the year off on the right foot.
Strong, you're going to. My guest today, who you know, is the handsome, the manly, the hilarious Joe Walker!
Yay!
Thank you for being
guys.
here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you.
I'm very happy to be here. I don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's okay.
So it's exciting.
It's good?
Yeah, it's fun.
You probably remember Joe from all of the StarKid productions he's been in. How many? A lot?
I think that there have been 10.
Okay.
Of which I've been in 9.
Wow. That's impressive.
Or 9 and I've been in 8.
Okay.
It's one of those.
Somewhere
two.
up there.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And of course, Spies Are Forever, which we did, I almost said earlier this year. No, that was last year.
Almost a full year
About a year ago.
Right?
We were
last February?
Yeah, we were getting into rehearsals around this time.
So weird.
Isn't
that was
crazy?
A whole year ago.
It was so fun.
That was fun.
It was a blast.
I was just thinking recently, so there was this period leading up to it where I was like, are we really going to sing about Nazis? And then we started doing it. And it was like, it's fun. Fun. And then now that we haven't done it for a year, I'm like, did we really sing about Nazis? Was that a thing?
I was playing the soundtrack for my mom. She hadn't heard it yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, oh... Yeah, well, here you go, Mom.
Oh, right. I forgot to tell you.
I was so much more embarrassed about it than I was at the time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You get into that's just what happens with no matter what show you're doing, you're like, this is high comedy. This is very conceptual, and then you're like,
was it though?
I mean, I think it was, but it's harder to tell when you're a year removed.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Well, we will get into that and discuss.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, follow the link here. Can you do that?
Yeah,
oh,
I can
cool.
do it.
All right.
I'll do it.
I'm sorry, you don't have to do it.
Nazi song. Oh, man. What a great way to start out this Craftversation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you want to make the craft that we're going to make today, which is really cool, and I'm really excited about it, we are going to be marbling paper, and it's pretty easy, but here's what you'll need. You will need some shaving cream. You will need a baking dish. You will need a spatula. You will need some tape, and you will need some paper. Beautiful hand modeling. You will need some food coloring and some rulers. So there's kind of a lot of ingredients, but it's going to be relatively simple once we get going. I've been wanting to get people to pick this craft for a while, and nobody has. So
I felt like maybe you were setting me up to choose this one. Not that the other options were bad, but they were
They weren't as cool.
I thought that this one was just so clearly the coolest.
Yeah,
where
this
it was
one is...
marbling paper.
Yeah.
That is
yes.
cool.
So we will start by taping off the back of it, so you just get it on the front and it doesn't get everywhere. Oh, you also need paper towels. Then we will get our shaving cream. Not shaving. Oh, that just made me think of Spies. Because shaving Spies.
It's just going to be Spies talk. For 3 hours.
Spies was so fun for me because I have not done anything like that in a long time.
I guess I can't quite say the same thing because that's literally all I've done for 7 years. You were great. So
thank you.
What part of Spies was the newest for you?
Well, I just hadn't been on stage at all in 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a big one.
Although the last thing I did on stage was a musical, but it just had been a long time. So I'm just taping along the edge on the backside.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do is fill this whole thing with shaving cream, and then we're going to poke it down, and that's just to keep it from spilling over onto the side that you don't want it to be on.
Oh, I see. So it's just masking.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
How do you feel about crafts, Joe? You can hate them.
I consider myself... No, I don't hate crafts. I don't do them.
Yeah, sure. Well, most people
very
don't.
Much.
Like...
Sorry, I'm still having a hard time figuring out what we're doing.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just
no, that's fine. I was
edges.
thinking that it would be okay, so here's what you don't do, right? Got it. Don't do this.
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking, though. That would be an interesting method.
Okay,
Now, this is just to protect the back of the paper.
But I I actually really like crafting.
I do too.
I really, every year, I really go sort of headlong into the Halloween costume making process.
Wait, what were you this year? Because it was intense.
I was, I basically was McCavity Cat, but I've never seen cats. I don't know cats at all. But the joke was, Tracy wanted to be Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yes.
And she was like, you should be the cat. And I was like, that's boring. I don't want to be the cat from Breakfast at Tiffany's. And then I was like, oh, you know what might be funny is if I was just said I was the cat from Breakfast at Tiffany's, but it was obvious that I was a cat from Cats. So I made that ridiculous costume.
Yeah.
And I...
oh, I'm sorry, I've been hogging the
A couple years ago, I made like a Swamp Thing costume that was like really involved.
Yeah.
I mean, so about really once a year, I get really into. I know that's costume. Oh man, I'm just talking and not crafting. I am not crafting. I'm just blabbering.
That is what the show is about: is talking and crafting. But I was also keeping the tape from you, so it's my fault. Woo! Kind of fun.
Yeah.
I like crafting because it's like fun and therapeutic in some ways. So you did that. That's great. And now you can just spray all your shaving cream in here.
Great.
And then we're going to put food coloring in it and swirl it around.
Great.
I'm going to do red maybe.
I do definitely agree with you on the therapeutic nature of it. It's kind of it's kind of zen almost.
Yes.
It's sort of fairly simple. Cool.
So I put a few drops of food coloring in, and now I'm kind of like, I think I'm going to add more, actually.
All right.
Just kind of like swirling it around to create this like marbly effect.
Did you craft a lot as a child?
Yeah, I was a pretty creative kid. I did a lot of like face painting on myself and scrapbooking, and I was an only child, so
Yeah, you had to occupy your time.
Yeah. And kind of fell out of doing that when I went to college and such, because you don't really have time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's really fun, and I've enjoyed getting back to it, and it's really fun for this show to like have something to do while we talk.
Yeah, this also sort of reminds me of when I was a kid. I was in therapy because like no real good reason, but I think that I used to like get really pissed off about things, which I think is like a normal little boy thing. Anyway, but the point is that we just would play cards. Just like we just like played cards and like chit chatted, and it was like it was like an old lady card group or something like that, where it was like whoa, play some hearts or whatever. Yeah, and it's like kind of like this where you go.
It's so nice.
It's like a book club. Or
yeah,
something.
I don't give myself the freedom to like do that sort of thing anymore because I'm like, I have so much to do all the time, which I do. But you kind of need that. Okay, here we go. Ooh. So, I'm pushing my card into the shaving cream. Trying to get it over the whole thing.
I see.
And then I'm going to lift it up. It's going to get on the inside. And then I'm going to use my ruler over here to scrape it off. Okay. Oh, yes. Yes! Look at you folding that shaving cream.
Yeah, I feel like I'm making like a meringue pie or something like that.
So...
God, this looks so yummy.
It does look yummy.
Good. When I was a kid, I don't know if this is because I went to a weird hippie school or this is something
you went to a weird hippie school?
Yeah, as a child, which was great, except they didn't teach me math, which is why I'm bad at math now. We used to practice our writing in shaving cream.
Really?
Anybody ever do that?
I don't think I did that.
Yeah, it was bizarre. But the funny thing was that every so often they'd forget to get the sensitive one and your hands would start burning.
Oh.
Just like kind of a funny trick to play on kindergartners.
So I used this ruler to scrape off all the shaving cream and ta-da! That's what you get.
Whoa, okay.
Kind of cool, right?
This is sweet.
kind of neat.
What's the shaving cream doing here? Is it just sort of suspending the dye?
Yes.
It's not. Yes. There's no like chemical property to the shaving cream that confers the transference of the colors. It's just.
I could be extremely wrong about that.
Like, would this work with egg whites?
Oh, interesting. I don't know.
All right. Well, if anybody tries that out,
let us know. So,
okay, so I just press this down.
Yeah. So you'll. Oh wait, no.
Oh.
Sorry.
I've been looking at this, thinking to myself, like, what is wrong with me?
No, I didn't explain it very well.
No, I just didn't listen. Damn it!
I mean, you could do that, and then you'd have like a.
That's kind of what I was. That's what I was thinking. Where I was like,
try.
There's going to be a nice frame around it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I might try it.
It's like.
It was mainly just to keep the back clean, although I've failed.
Okay.
So yeah, you kind of push it in there.
Did you leave it in here for a certain amount of time? Did I miss that?
Okay, it doesn't need too much time. Yeah, it's fine. It'll get on there. This is one of the more involved crafts we've done in a while.
I feel like this one's gonna have a pretty cool learning curve.
Yeah,
like
so
by the end, they're gonna be real like scenic masterpieces.
Surely they will.
Still lives. This is like activating all those like 8-year-old impulses in me. And I'm like, let's make a mess.
Yeah, I know, it's fun. So Joe, how did you get involved with StarKid at the very beginning?
Gosh, as most StarKid sort of like history stories start, I don't know, have you ever heard about when Nick Lang did, he directed a production of The Hobbit?
Yeah.
So I saw that because that was kind of I was a big Lord of the Rings kid.
Yeah,
and
me
too. It was like that and Star Wars. Those were my two. Mm-hmm. So basically it started with Nick doing that, and I wasn't involved in that at all. Mm-hmm. I just went and saw it and thought to myself, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I don't know why people aren't doing more of this kind of stuff.
What year in school were you in?
That was my freshman year.
That was, okay.
So I saw them do that, and that was sort of like just breathtaking. I think it's probably the same feeling that, if I'm sure there are some fans of StarKid watching, it was my first time seeing a StarKid thing. And I went, and it wasn't StarKid at the time, of course, but it was, it had that same feeling where you went, what is this? This is so weird and good. It's so weird and good. And so a couple of years went by, and it was my junior year. It was Nick and Brian's senior year, and we're doing it again. They were doing The Hobbit 2, The Lord of the Rings. And I was like, gotta be in that. I have to be in this.
So were you?
Yeah, so I auditioned, and they cast me. And so my part was the same part that I've played in every StarKid show since, which is this sort of foolish ass. And specifically, I started and I was Boromir, and then he died, and I put on a mustache and was Faramir. And then he died, and I put on a beard and was Denethor.
Of course, amazing.
It was not really a musical. Mm-hmm. That didn't come until the Harry Potter show, but that was my first. That was my first thing, basically.
Did you grow up singing? How was doing a musical?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny that I wound up doing musical theater for the last 7 years because I liked West Side Story. Mm-hmm. We had a cassette of West Side Story, and I would listen to America on repeat. All little kids have that song.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They're
totally.
Play it again. So that was mine. So I was a big, West Side Story fan. But no, I never really thought of myself as a musical theater type. Especially at Michigan, they were so good.
It's a big musical theater school.
It's a really serious musical theater program.
I somehow completely missed that because I didn't apply for Michigan or really ever think of Michigan, but I was applying to schools with musical theater programs.
I mean, when I got there, I didn't realize that we were going to be the kid brother program to the musical theater program. Not that I'm bitter about it. But But really, the point is that it was so serious and they were so good that I was like, yeah, clearly this is not me. It's not my strength. It's not what I'm interested in. It's just not me. And then we did the Harry Potter show, and it was a joke. You know, the fact that it was a musical was like kind of a joke, or so I thought. I was like, oh man, and then Voldemort tap dances. Like, how dumb could you get? Like, how stupid of an idea could there be? Again, not that I don't like it. It's just like the point was that it was silly.
Right.
And then people liked it a lot.
That's so
and
crazy.
I don't know. I guess the rest is history. You know, it's tough to resist being liked.
Yeah.
You know, when people like what you're doing, you do it.
That's interesting.
That's kind of how I always looked at it.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I mean, and so I tried to get a little bit better at singing.
What year in school were you when you did that?
The Harry Potter show was it was the last thing I did at Michigan.
It was.
It was this total fun. It was kind of that like last hurrah thing with our friends, you know. I want to be in America.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's my feet in America.
I think your performance in Potter is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And when I first watched it, which was after I had met Joey, and I had heard of it before, and everybody was like, you gotta watch this, and I was like, what is that? Okay. But then I met Joey, and I was like, all right, I really should watch this, I guess. And I was like, dang, this Joe Walker guy is fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that.
You really are.
I remember being really...
Yours and Lauren's performances were among my favorite. Sorry, everybody else, I love you so much, but you're really good in that role.
Well, I think that, I mean, it basically is the best part.
Yeah.
Again, no offense to everybody else, but like, as far as the structure of the show, and also it's like basically the main thing that's different from Harry Potter, where you go, oh, also we added this like Voldemort love story, and everything else is just like a very enjoyable kind of retelling, but that's the story where you're like, oh, this didn't happen at all. Like it was the newest aspect in a lot of ways. So I think I just get a lot of mileage off of that.
Totally,
where, you know, the guys gave me a really, you know, it's like when you get a good part, you're like, I didn't write it, but, you know, I sure as hell tried to do a good job.
Well, you definitely did. And then I continued to think you were great as Umbridge, and everything else I've seen you do.
Umbridge. Umbridge is really...
fantastic.
Okay, I like this one too.
I like that too. That looks so good. Here's mine with the the box
that's good.
effect.
I think
Thanks for letting me steal that from you.
I think what I need to do... Oh yeah, that's cool. I guess we could do all sorts of masking.
We really could.
I think I'm going to do that this next one.
I like that.
Yeah, so that was fun. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
God, I forgot that... Is it
It
your hiccups or your coughs? Is it all...
my hiccups.
It's the hiccups.
Yep. Just the little eeps. Yep. All the time.
Boy, I haven't heard you hiccup in a long time.
Well, I'm
She used to hiccup all the time back in Spies. It was like Mary Kate's hiccuping again. Oh man, everyone gather around.
I'm glad we caught it in the Poe Party bloopers because they are legendary. And
how's that been going? I had so much fun at the screening.
Thank you so much for coming. That was really,
of course.
Cool of you.
It was. You guys are cool. You guys did a good job, and that was cool.
Well, we got really lucky because we just got to make the thing we wanted to make with all our friends, and it turned out great.
What was that, like a year and a half?
Yeah, well, Sean and Sinead were writing it for quite a while.
That makes sense.
And then we kickstarted around this time last year. In February it started, and then we shot in May and released by Halloween, and that was that.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, it's good. We just got
accepted. Like a pretty wild turnaround.
That is crazy.
For what you guys made.
I like using the rulers.
Oh, wasn't even thinking.
No, that's really smart. I like that. Yeah, it is a crazy turnaround, and I kind of can't believe you did it, to be honest. I'm kind of shocked that happened.
Are you guys still, making moves with it and doing this and that, trying to get people to...
We just got accepted to the Seattle Web Fest yesterday.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we've submitted to some other festivals. which would be awesome. I mean, that's kind of just like icing on the cake because it's already all out there and everything. But we would love to just get it seen by as many eyeballs as possible so that then hopefully that will help us make our next thing.
Yeah, well, you've got it. That's the big difference between doing like an unrecorded play or something and then actually having something where you go,
yes,
we still have it. It didn't go anywhere.
I kind of love that we did that with Spies, which of course, like you guys, StarKid has always been putting their stuff online, but that was the first time for me I've been in like theatrical production that's then had a life outside of that online.
No, I totally love it.
Really nice.
Where you go, you don't have to do that normal like you say, okay.
Yeah.
I guess
this
we'll just live on in our memories.
Yes.
And you go, no, actually, there's a video, and like you can watch it if you want. So that's
well,
it's nice.
Just hard to put so much work into something, and yes, like it's something you remember forever and treasure forever, but it's just
but who actually remembers everything forever? It's like we're not robots.
Yeah, you want to have something to show for all your hard work, and so it's really nice. Wait, when did you move out to LA?
A little over a year ago. I moved out.
Yeah, you and Lauren both moved out around.
Yeah, around the same time.
So what was it that made you decide to come out here?
Well, I'd basically just been in Chicago for a long time. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a certain, as trite as invoking the weather is, it's like...
It's a real thing.
It's cold in Chicago. Oh my God. It's like negative...
I've only been there a few times, but I was like, I could never live here.
Yeah, it's insane. It's completely insane. And, I love Chicago. I do miss it. But it was just like, what the hell? California is like the best place, so why not move there? And just sort of switching it up. I feel like, what they say, every 5 years you're supposed to switch it up.
Mm-hmm. Have you enjoyed being out here?
Yes. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Was that you?
That may have been me. So it's funny, I'm totally, I guess everyone's kind of a slave to their phone, but I do handyman work with TaskRabbit. Oh, yes. And if you get hired and, like, don't respond within 30 minutes, you, like...
They move on to something
else. They just, like, dock your whatever.
Oh, seriously?
So, yeah, it's, like, bad for my rating and that kind of stuff. Do you ever see, you watch Black Mirror?
No.
Oh,
there's I'm afraid it's way too intense for me.
It is pretty intense, but there's one episode where the whole world operates. It like takes place in the future, and the whole world operates where every single interaction, people rate each other.
Yes.
And it's like
I've heard
not that far off, especially when you actually are like an Uber driver or a handyman on the app, and you're just like, yes, please, just 5 stars, please. Yeah. They'll kick me off. Don't.
That idea to me is terrifying.
Yeah, it's not so bad as long as you aren't a total.
Sure. But the idea of like rating everything in your life or people you meet or
no, it's definitely that's why that episode is so good. You go, it feels silly, but also it's really not that silly.
Then you're like, yeah.
LA's been great to answer that question. I mean, it's funny because I did go back to Chicago to do Firebrand.
Yeah, you sure did.
So I missed the kind of like the heat of the summer. But I don't know, it's like Los Angeles is kind of this total paradise.
It really
is. People, I think a lot of people would be like, but it's really fake. And you're like, but you don't have to go hang out on Hollywood,
I honestly
Boulevard.
Never find that to be true.
Right, I think it's a lot less true. It is kind of a cliche. And also, actually, I'm not sure how much this, like, whether this is really kicked into the culture yet, but I think a lot of cool people got pushed out of San Francisco and came here. So I think that a lot of the cultural aspects that aren't the highly polished Hollywood thing are really, they seem to be really vibrant. So I don't know. I mean, hey, long story short, I love it here.
Do you?
I love it here.
I'm
it's
so
like,
glad.
what is...
I love it here, too.
It's... paradise.
It really is, and it's like, well, I could be sad about my career in a place that's cold and dark and miserable, or I could be in a place where I walk outside each day and at least I'm like, oh, what a beautiful day.
Well, I think you just really answered your own question as to why I left Chicago.
Well, I'm glad you're liking it. I completely agree. I get why LA has this weird bad rap of being just like so self-absorbed and whatever, but have found so many people here that are not that way at all. So I'm like,
it's totally
up to you to sort of make it what you want it to be.
Well, what's funny is I actually think that LA or Hollywood specifically has a real vested interest in kind of maintaining that illusion because it makes it sexier.
Yeah, sure.
For people who aren't here.
Sure.
Where if we really are, it's like in the Hunger Games where it's like LA is this, everyone's walking around with blue hair and weird drinks and it's like the capital and everyone's like, ooh. But it's really not like that. But that's not as fun and sexy for everyone else.
Totally.
And a lot of money made off of being fun and sexy.
Totally.
So, to be fair, there are a lot of aspects to LA that are like kind of like the capital in Hunger Games, where it's like bizarro, really bizarro shit going on. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I'm like maybe missing out on, like I'm not like indulging in that enough. This place is so like I'm like missing all that weird stuff.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely out there.
Yeah.
I'm not one for all the
me
stuff you can do, I guess. Well, but that's the thing. There's like so much cool cultural stuff to do. There's just whatever you want to do here, you can do it. You can go to a museum.
So delicious.
That looks so cool.
It's like
nice.
I want this to be ice cream.
Have you seen Rogue One, Joe?
Yes, I saw Rogue One. I saw it twice. I liked it, I mean, the first time I saw it, I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. And, it's not a perfect movie, so...
Oh, sure.
But, what is?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I had fun. I thought that the CG people were creepy. I did think that was creepy.
So weird.
It's funny because I was wondering how much of this was just my own personal bias because I played Grand Moff Tarkin in the Annie Star Wars show.
I haven't watched that one.
It's really esoteric.
Okay.
But I didn't. I mean, this is nitpicky, but I didn't like that they sort of turned his character. Not only was he a weird CGI ghost, but they sort of made it so that way he kind of just took over the Death Star. I mean, we all know he's an ass, right? He's it's Grand Moff Tarkin, he's the head of the Death Star, he's an ass. But I was like, it just sort of cheapens the character.
Interesting.
I was like,
See,
clearly this guy was around during the construction of the Death Star. It wasn't like he just showed up one day and was like, I think I'll take it. And it seemed like that, and I was like,
I see.
But of course, it's no one. I think that only there's maybe 10 people in the history of the world who've ever really thought about Grand Moff Tarkin very much. So
I've only come to the Star Wars sort of world in the last couple of years. Thank you.
How are you liking it?
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I'm
are we
liking
friendly?
It. You're very friendly. Like you, I loved Lord of the Rings with just the greatest passion.
Right.
As a young person, and so I just never really got into Star Wars for some reason. But I watched the original trilogy 2 years ago, almost now. And I feel bad saying this because I know there are people out there that are like, oh, but the original trilogy, Force Awakens was the one for me that I was like, oh, yeah, this is fun.
I mean, The Force Awakens is awesome.
I think it's so great.
I think that for people who are like, oh man, what is wrong with me? Right. What is wrong with me? My God. This is I feel like I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm just not paying attention. Okay, so I was trying to make an interesting mask, but this is just really stupid looking. But I'm gonna go for it.
I think it's a cool idea.
That's the.
I'm into it.
With stuff like this, you go. Gotta roll with it.
Go for it.
There's no wrong. I think that maybe if you are just incredible, very, very familiar with the original Star Wars. Mm-hmm. That The Force Awakens, it was clearer how much of basically just a remake of the first one it was.
Sure.
Where it just felt very familiar, and it not in a. I mean, that was also what was good about it, but it was basically a remake when it came down to the fundamental, with the plot.
What the story is,
what the actual plot was.
Totally.
Okay, yeah. Death Star again. Got it.
Right.
But the first half, when you're meeting all the new characters, you're like, this is the best thing that's, this is the best thing ever. I loved it.
I loved it too, and it was the first time I've been like really swept away by a Star Wars film, just because I waited too long in life to see them. And, once I watched the originals, I was like, okay, these were made in the 70s and 80s and whatever, but...
Yeah, and they're cheesy.
Yeah,
and they're totally cheesy.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, like Luke Skywalker is kind of... I mean, it's hard to not have our culture ruin things. Where it's like, everyone loves it so much that you, like, lose track of the fact that it's a kid's movie.
Totally,
and,
totally.
And if you lose track of that and you're like, no, this is the epic saga of our time.
Right.
You go, okay, I guess. It's also a kid's movie. That, like, I love thoroughly, and don't get me wrong, but it is, it's like, maybe don't take it so seriously.
Totally.
I also think I liked Rogue One more than some other people because I am susceptible to, like, really nerdy Star Wars stuff where it was like, oh boy, there's a U-Wing. Did you see the U-Wing? Oh, is that a TIE interceptor that they have on the, like, there's a scene when it's the X-Wing fight at the end, and they have these TIE fighters that are like half a TIE fighter, and I was like, what kind of TIE fighter is that? I wonder if that's an unmanned ground, like, arterial TIE fighter, total stupid stuff. And I think that, and I think that that's, it did a good job with that kind of stuff. Maybe I was a little bit blind to some of the like more fundamental problems with it as a movie.
With Rogue One?
Yeah, with Rogue One. Because I was just like, oh boy! They're not quite stormtroopers, they're in black. Like that, and you go, that makes it a good movie for me.
This video was sponsored by Debby Li. Debbie, you're awesome, and I hope your year is off to a great start. Thanks for being one of my patrons.